The purpose of today's press conference is to share with you the results of an investigation into the DeKalb County Schools, which has been carried out over the last several months. The current condition of this school system is one that can be classified as one in conflict and chaos. It didn't happen overnight. It's been over 10 years that has led to the current condition. Over that 10-year period, there's been poor, ineffective governance, there's been a decline in student performance, and there's been a depletion of the financial resources of this system to a position today which is very dangerous. Board members who I met with earlier this morning, as well as senior staff, need to take ownership of the current challenges facing this system that have happened over a 10-year period, and they will not be solved in any short period of time. But it's very important that board members not try to just focus on the present as reasons why they are in this current state. They need to understand that the problem with this system and this community has happened over a decade, and it needs a significant change in culture as it moves forward. One of those elements which has been very prevalent over the last couple decades is it remains today a system that is divided along lines of race, socioeconomic levels, and geography. Such divisions are continuing to paralyze this system's ability to address the needs of all students, no matter where they live, no matter where they go to school. During our investigation, what we found was that staff spend an inordinate amount of time responding to the interests and individual whims of board members. This is not a governing body. What it is 9 individuals who have political interests who are focused on ensuring that those political interests are managed by the staff in accordance with their requests. They fail at many levels to govern effectively. As a result, there's a complete breakdown in the processes designed to administer the school system. The system a couple of years ago took out a loan for $25 million to purchase textbooks. There's no evidence that any textbook was ever purchased. In fact, half the loan was to pay for previously purchased textbooks. This school year, students began in classes without textbooks. Students began in classes with textbooks that needed repair and were asked to go home and use glue to put them back together so they could use them. And this is a system that has nearly $1 billion a year available to it, which led to knowingly board members adopting a budget, for instance, in legal fees, where they budgeted a certain amount, and even the contractual obligations they had with their current law firms exceeded that amount. They adopted a budget with a line item less than their contractual obligations. Never mind the additional legal support they need during the year. They adopted a budget where their contractual obligations were greater than the actual budget. They did this in utilities and other areas throughout the budget. They began this school year with a deficit of nearly $25 million. That deficit continues to grow. If something of significance happens between now and the end of the year, this system may have trouble closing the school year at the time they had designated. We have seen this in other school systems across the country, and they get into the springtime and they are not prepared for any unusual expenses, and they've had to close their schools sooner than planned. We hope that does not happen to DeKalb County, but they're in a perilously close position where that could happen if anything unusual transpires in the next 3 to 4 months. There's board interference in daily operations. We poured through just 6 months of emails, videos of board meetings, minutes of board meetings. There is an inordinate amount of individual requests through emails of board members make of individual staff, which have nothing to do with actions taken by the board. They only have to do with that board member's interest to want some information or want some matter taken care of. This diverts the ability of the staff to actually do the job they're hired to do. 35% of the schools in DeKalb County have connectivity and technology that we normally find in nearly 90% of America's schools. There is a significant gap in what kids have access to from technology in DeKalb schools as compared to the rest of the nation. Here's a system that has nearly $1 billion a year, and today they're woefully behind in providing kids with technology access that have come to be commonplace in most of America's schools. That gap will take a significant effort to close over a significant period of time. If the system fails to do so in the next year, address those required actions in a substantive way, the loss of accreditation is imminent. This system must take decisive and proactive action beginning today. The school system has to eradicate the continued pattern of behavior that has placed adult individual interest above that of the needs of students in every school, and every significant evidence of board interference in the hiring of personnel, the compensation of personnel, the promotion throughout the years. And there is evidence not just of nepotism, but of friends getting favors throughout the system. There's a whole pattern that goes well beyond the last year.
Did you find any evidence of potential criminal wrongdoing, and have you been in communication with the DeKalb District Attorney about your findings?
We don't have subpoena power, and we need to stop short of making that type of claim. However, if officials feel they need to investigate further who have that type of authority, they can. We could make no determination along that line. We don't have the ability to.
When you told the board about putting them on probation and all the things that they need to do, what was their reaction?
It wasn't total shock because they knew when we get to this level there are significant concerns. I think they were hopeful that it wasn't as complicated and complex as it is, and that it wasn't centered so much on their leadership. So from that standpoint, they need some time to digest that.
How much of this relates to the already under indictment, former staff, etc.?
Well, that's all part of a very complicated 10-year history right now. It's part of that culture. And we're not making any comment on an ongoing criminal investigation, but if you look over 10 years and over multiple administrations and multiple boards, some of the same patterns have existed long before what I shared with you.
What happens if a school system loses accreditation?
It's going to affect everybody in the community. It's one of the hallmarks of a community's infrastructure, whether or not it has a good school system. It's going to affect people's view of the community, from businesses that are doing business there to businesses that may want to relocate there to property values. But most importantly, it's impacting today the education of these children. And it could impact the future education of these children, not just elementary, middle school kids, but high school kids who want to be eligible for scholarships or eligible to go on to certain colleges and universities in this country. It affects everybody in this system.